Hey, Motorman here. So you want to hear some of my stories that I've collected over the years and many years in law enforcement, and I'm going to give you a couple of them, and you probably find them entertaining because I try to actually put a little fun into law enforcement. My methods weren't orthodox, but they worked very well. And I want you to know that I noticed that a lot of people who have never been in law enforcement, always know better than an experienced officer, an officer with hundreds of hours of training. But somehow, some way, the person who's never had any training, who's never been in law enforcement, always knows better what the officer should have done. It's no other profession like that. I don't care if you're a plumber or a carpenter. Nobody's going to tell you, you should have done the pipes this way. But for some reason, law enforcement, everybody knows better than the cop. But I'll tell you, one of the things I used to do, one of my specialties was I like to do a warrant arrest where I knew the person wasn't going to answer the door. Here in Florida anyway, here's how it works. If somebody has a warrant out for their arrest, you can't just go busting in through the door. You have to first be sure that the person is actually inside. So here's how this story starts. I'm coming home. It's the midnight shift. It's probably 5 in the morning. I'm a couple of hours away from going home and hitting the sack. And on the side of the road, I see a couple of men and a woman, and they're obviously in some type of domestic. The arms are going back and forth. They're screaming and yelling. So I would pull over. I want to make sure that nothing worse than the screaming and yelling is going to happen. And I start talking to these two people. Both of them been drinking pretty good. And I ask for their IDs, the first thing you do. You want to run a warrants check. And the guy doesn't have ID on him. Well, that tells me he probably doesn't have ID because he knows he's got a warrant out for his arrest. So anyway, I take his name and the birth date that he gives me. I run it. There doesn't anything come back on that. And I do the same thing for the woman. And anyway, I let him go on his way. He gets a good ways down the road. And they don't live together, by the way, so it's not really a domestic situation, at least here in the state of Florida. And she goes on her way. The next day, I'm back on duty. It's the midnight shift. And I get a call from the girl who was in the argument with the guy, and she tells me, do you know that he has a warrant out for his arrest and he gave you a fake name and a fake date of birth? And I kind of figured that. And I said, yeah, I figured that. She says, well, I'm still mad at him. I think he needs to go to jail. So here's his name, here's his address, here's his phone number, everything you need to make an arrest. I said, well, if I go to his house and I knock on the door, is he going to come to the door? She says, no, he'll never come to the door. He's always blasting music, and the neighbors hate him, and because of the loud music, the cops are always coming to his door, and he just doesn't answer. So I said, okay. So I go home, and I pick up a box that we'd gotten from UPS, and I put some rocks in it. I put a shovel of sand in it, and I seal it up. And I go over to the area where he lives. It happens to be a trailer park. Yeah, a trailer park. And sure enough, he's got the music blasting. It's a pretty quiet neighborhood except for his trailer. The trailer's almost shaking. It's blasting so loud. So I go about 3 trailers down from him, and I park my car in the back, and I knock on the door. And the guy says, you hear about the loud music? I said, no, but I can hear it. Does he do that all the time? He says, yeah, we're always calling the cops, but he never answers the door, so they just leave and let the music go on. I said, would you like to see him go to jail? He said, oh, of course I would. He's really annoying. I said, okay. I said, you got a phone I could use? He says, sure. So I said, hang on a second. I go out to my car. I get my nice little UPS box. And the guy says, what's that? I says, well, just listen. You'll see. So I call the guy's phone number. It rings about 10 times. Finally, he picks up the phone. I said, is this so-and-so? He says, yeah. I says, I'm your neighbor. I'm about 3 trailers down. UPS dropped a box off of my house. It's got your lot number on it. Your lot number 5? He says, yeah. I said, yeah, it's a pretty heavy package, too. I got to leave, though, so I'm going to put it out in front of my house. And if I were you, I'd come and get it right away. I hang up the phone. I go around the back of the trailer. He can't see my car. It's behind the trailer. Sure enough, here he comes. He wants that UPS box. Now, he knows he didn't order anything from UPS, but he's a criminal. He's going to get something for nothing. He can't wait to get there. He practically jogs over to get it, opens up the gate, goes in there, shuts the gate, runs up to the front door to grab the box, and now I got him. Click, click, he's going to jail. I love doing things like this where you don't have to use any force. Using force is a lot of paperwork. It's annoying. You got to answer to the sergeant on the shift. Why did you use force? But outsmarting the con, or conning the con, was one of my specialties. Another time, I got a call this woman says her son has a warrant out for his arrest for auto burglary. She said, and he's in her house right now. He doesn't live there, but he's there in the house right now. Now you can imagine what kind of person this kid is, that his own mother wants to see him go to jail. She knows he needs to be in jail. So I start thinking, I said, well, if I come there and I knock on the door, she said, oh, he's going to run. I said, okay. So I give it a little bit of thought. And we had just gotten cell phones at the time. The sheriff's office supplied us with cell phones. And if you can't see who's calling, the calls are blocked. So I go to the guy's front door, and he's got a nice Impala Super Sport sitting in the driveway. So I dial the number inside. The mother answers. I said, is somebody there have a black Impala? She says, yes, my son. Now, she doesn't know that this is the police calling. She says, yeah, my son has one. I said, can you put him on the phone? So she puts him on the phone, and I make a funny voice. I like to, just to add a little drama to it. I says, this is your neighbor, Mr. Johnson. Do you have a black Impala? He says, yeah, why? I said, there's somebody out there. I could see through the window. He's got a screwdriver. He's trying to break the window to get in the car. No sooner do I finish that, and out the door he comes so fast it almost surprised me. I had to stick my foot out and trip the guy. He fell down, cuffed him up, and he was really mad. Stuff like this. When you con the con, when you outsmart them, they get so mad. So on the way to jail, he's in the back of the car, and he's hitting his head against the window, doing the typical thing that criminals do. So I have this little bit that I tell people when they really seem to be upset, criminals. And I said to the guy, what are you so mad about? He said, well, first of all, you weren't allowed to do that. You weren't allowed to get me out of the house by lying to me. I said, well, actually, I am allowed to do that. I said, but you're thinking of this all wrong. So here you are, you're a career criminal. I'm not a criminal. I said, well, there's a warrant for burglary. I think he had like 12 auto burglaries that they knew about. He's probably got 50 more they don't know about. I said, you have to think of it this way. When you lead a life of crime, it's got its drawbacks. One of the drawbacks is sometimes you get caught and you got to go to jail. I said, but the good points are you make your own hours, right? You don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have to get up early in the morning to commit your crimes. You could commit them anytime. You could sleep till noon and still have plenty of time to go out and commit a few crimes. You don't have to work weekends. You don't want to commit a crime on a Saturday night. You don't have to do it. You can wait till Monday morning. You want to take a vacation. You want to go and see your friends or your father, in the prison, whatever. You got the time to do it. You're your own boss. You're like a businessman. And sometimes I would get you're right, this isn't so bad. They do feed you in jail, and it's like a little vacation. And some judge is going to let you out. Auto burglary is no big deal. And that was one of the things I did. Hope you enjoyed this story. I hope you give me a thumbs up. And if you would, please subscribe. Click that little bell. And every time I come out with a new video, you'll be notified immediately. Till next time.